Another demonstration of Trump lawyering today over these subpoenaed documents that the Trump lawyers are trying to protect through the executive privilege of the person who's no longer the executive.
Right. The executive who's not an executive claiming executive privilege. You know, we've talked about this before when I litigated with Trump and we were trying to get his tax returns and other financial records. He delayed. And then when we finally got his initial round of tax returns, they had been so heavily redacted, they looked like crossword puzzles. I think the only line of income that he disclosed in his initial disclosure to us was modeling income Melania had earned, which was completely irrelevant to our case. And obviously the reason he does this with Congress or with journalistic hacks like me, or anyone else he's doing legal battle with, is he's constantly hiding things. If you don't have anything to hide, you have no problem generally turning over documents. And the reality is Trump has plenty to hide around the role he played, I think, in the months leading up, the years leading up to January 6th and January 6th itself. And I think in the DA's investigation that we got more information about today, that's going to have financial accountability that he has successfully avoided for a very long time, and it's not going to be easy to do anymore.
And the reporting indicates, NBC's reporting indicates, that they're going after the question that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez raised in that hearing with Michael Cohen 2 years ago, which is what kind of games does he play with the valuations of assets, and are those games illegal?
Donald Trump inflates the value of his assets like someone sticking a pump into a bicycle tire. He does it all the time. He does it every day. It is willy-nilly. When he does it with reporters, which he has done for decades, this is not new behavior. Donald Trump absolutely inflates the value of his assets. And on some days, his inflation will change by billions of dollars, even by his own estimation. He played a game with it historically with reporters because it was very important to him and his ego to stay on the Forbes list of the richest Americans. But it's a very different matter when you go into a bank and you say you need a loan and you lie about how much the value of your asset is in order to get a bigger loan that you possibly can't pay back later. It is consequential when you go to tax authorities and lowball the value of a property, so you have to pay fewer taxes on it. It's also consequential if you claim environmental write-offs against a property by inflating the value of the asset in that case. And then he has a whole possible stew of problems with insurers in which he's made claims for losses that are more excessive than the losses he's actually incurred, and he possibly pocketed the differences. All of that, I think, is in play right now. And I think the other thing that's significant about this second grand jury is it appears to be focusing much more directly, and this is tea leaf reading right now, but it appears to be focusing much more directly on Donald Trump himself and his own culpability than some of the matters that came before the first grand jury that resulted in Alan Weisselberg being charged. The first round smacked of minions and people being rounded up who might testify against Trump. What we learned about today, it does seem like it's starting to land more directly in Trump's lap.
And what is Donald Trump? You know him. What is his reaction to these kinds of turns of events?
Well, I think, he always has other people fighting his battles for him. He does not like to be hounded. His first response will always be to denigrate or try to undermine faith in the people who are pursuing him. And then when push comes to shove, he gradually unwinds. If he has to end up getting into a situation where he is going to be deposed or he has to testify in front of a jury, he is going to completely unspool and do real damage to himself.
Tim O'Brien, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thank you. And coming up, Congresswoman Katie Porter will join us next with the latest, the happening right now on the negotiations tonight among House Democrats that Speaker Pelosi